On April 17, 2005, the state chapter in New Jersey celebrated its 5th class to be honored by the National Wrestling Hall of Fame with a Lifetime Service to Wrestling Award presented to Coach John M. Allen. Coach Allen began his lifetime commitment to wrestling some 50 years ago at St. Benedict's Prep School. Coach Allen coached 30 individual champions and 7 national prep champions, the foremost being Mike Caruso, who recorded an 81 wins to 0 loss high school record before earning 3 NCAA championships at Lehigh University. John is an exceptional individual. He has devoted his life in working with young people through athletics, teaching the skills and attitudes fundamental for success in sports, but more importantly, teaching his wrestlers how to win with humility and lose with grace and dignity. Coach Allen has always enjoyed the reputation of being a gentleman coach who brought credit to his profession, teams, schools, community, and family. And now, here is Coach Allen, who will instruct us on skills.
The side door type move, and not a great move, not highly recommended by us, but sometimes we are confronted by it. Number one item, you don't want to insert your arm underneath where opponent can get the essential tricep grip. You just don't insert the arm there. You don't give him the grip. If he does get it, to impede the necessary sit-through, you apply inside-out backhand pressure on his thigh, and that makes it difficult for him to sit through. Or you might apply second arm under, a double underhook that would prevent or certainly hinder his sit-through. If he does have the grip and you don't have a block on it and he does start to sit through, you want to back off. You crawl backwards, pull away from him, and that puts him in a position where he doesn't have real good leverage. And you've got to be heads up that he will go into a drag at the end of his Schrader attempt, and you have to be able to get head across. So one more time, if opponent goes into a Schrader type move, you back off, and in the event that he would try a drag, you put your head across to block the drag action. If and only if very adept at applying boots, would you consider climbing up onto opponent while he's in the process of doing a Schrader? If he does the Schrader and you start to circle to come up over his back, if you couldn't get that boot in and fell off, you'd fall off to your back. So we don't recommend climbing unless you're good at inserting a boot. If you have been had, if opponent has executed a Schrader well, he sat through, he's able to retain a good arm grip, he comes up parallel to you, you have to block him from hooking your leg, raise your foot, press your foot against him. You have to cling to his arm so he can't withdraw his arm, and then do a sit-through to the front so that he can't get control of you in any sense. You're back to a neutral facing position. All right, working versus shrug. Number one, don't leave yourself vulnerable as if shrug could not happen. That is, don't permit opponent to have either sufficient time or the essential prior grip, an outside collar grip. If it's being done versus your collar grip, relinquish the inside collar grip and come outside to claim your own shrug pose. So if he's in shrug position on you, what you want to do is withdraw your arm and get your hand on the outside, get outside collar grip for yourself where he is, that is your opponent is in position to be shrugged. And you have to do that before your opponent uses head and shoulder pinch as a prelude to the shrug. If he traps your hand up on your collar, up on his collar, you won't be able to withdraw. Another thought is you might preempt his shrug by shooting a single head in just a split second before opponent initiates the shrug. Just as he's about to go, you beat him to the punch and attack him. If you're up on your feet and opponent does a clean shrug, run through it, turn and face him and get low because he could be following up his shrug with a single leg attack. That's a natural follow-up to a shrug if the opponent runs through. If you're down on the mat and you have been shrugged and happen to be able to face him and get an arm up to block his go behind, just be wary of a pan follow. You might attempt a pancake, and you always have to worry about pans. Showing headlocks as a set or group of moves, much like we did with pancake, we'll start with reverse headlock. When you have a front headlock on, and you could have it from down on the mat with both men down or both men standing, there are lots of moves that can be worked off this grip, most all of which are already on our film or on another section of our tape and another reel. And what we'll illustrate now is just a couple moves that can be done off front headlock down on the mat. First of all, we tend to use Japanese-style front headlock, where we lock our hands under opponent's armpit and use our forearm and wrist to sweep his arm under his face. And that inward stimulus causes him probably to want to bring his arm outward. As he does, we release the pressure, insert an underhook, change to a chin grip with our other hand, and then come around on an angle and dump him to his back. This is called cement job, I believe, by a lot of people. So one more time, off the front headlock, used as a lead-up grip to pin grips. We take the Japanese-style front headlock, lock our hands under the armpit, sweep the opponent's arm inward. He's stimulated then to sweep his arm outward. We insert an underhook, grab chin on the other side with our other hand, come around on an angle, and dump him to his back and retain that grip, and it's called cement job. Another move off that same grip, out of the several more moves that come off that front headlock grip, is a pancake type move that we've demonstrated previously. We've got the front headlock on. We crawl backwards to get his near knee nearer, and then we place our knee alongside his knee and do pancake type action, and then hold our headlock grip. We retain that lock-up grip, and we call it a lateral lock-up off reverse headlock. So front headlock, reverse headlock does lead to pin grips, and in itself it is a tight grip that diminishes what an opponent can do. Now we're going to stand and we're going to do a body lock from the front, and we're going to work our way into a verticalization of our opponent's arms, and we're going to eventually get a headlock type grip and use a lateral trip to bring the opponent down, and then we secure that grip once we get him down. Now, it would be a benefit if the executor were a little bit taller than his opponent, which would make verticalization of the arms easier. So to secure this double arm trap headlock, this compound headlock, first you have to secure a standing body lock grip from the front of opponent, and then you have to verticalize his arms by gradually sliding or forcing the body lock grip upward on opponent until it reaches around his head area, with his now raised arms trapped within. To finalize, you perform a lateral trip. You take a convenient crossover step to the outside of opponent's foot and then trip him sideways over your leg. As you both head downward toward the mat, the executor retains the grip, keeping his head and both arms trapped, that is his opponent's head and both arms trapped, and then he tightens the grip all the more for the pin. If attainable, that is, if you're able and or opponent is so vulnerable that you can secure a body lock and verticalize his arms, the trip part is relatively easy. Compound headlock will prove to be a devastating pin method. That's how hopeless the opponent's situation is. And third headlock type action is figure four head scissors. And the prime times for usage are via a tight bar and a pry over from that tight bar, via double bar pry grip, via what we call bucky, hip underarm pry over, and via leg half Nelson. We're not going to do it from the tight bar, though it can be done from that. We'll do it from double bar pry, from bucky, hip underarm pry, and via the leg half. So do it at least 3 times. All right, we've secured a double bar grip. We've got both his arms behind him. We've got our fingers locked. And whenever we use the figure four head scissors, what we want to do is place our heel on the far side of opponent's head. So as we start to pry him, we get our heel on the far side of his head as if we're placing our hand into a half Nelson position. We don't want to use a figure four if opponent's head happens to be way off the mat. The attempt will likely get us in trouble. So we like him flat, that is at least down flat on his hip, if not on his stomach or back. We proceed forward and secure the figure four grip by wrapping the lower leg around opponent's collar and attaching the instep of the wrap foot behind our other knee, which then gets folded. So we've got to get it behind the knee. It cannot be a straight head scissors. That is illegal. With the figure four on, you want to squeeze and arch your back to increase the pressure and the likelihood of a pin attainment. Once you have the figure four on, don't let opponents sit up. Keep them flat. One more time. Again from double bar pry. We've got double bar pry grip. We're trying to pry him over. It's a little bit difficult. Maybe his head's slipping away along the mat. As we circle and drive, his head slides away. We can insert a leg half, the beginning of a figure four head scissors, and then proceed forward and lock around his head, folding at the knee, getting our instep behind our own knee. And then you arch your back, that is, you raise your head up, press your hips down to flatten them out. We'll do it again, this time from a bucket. This time we have a far one-on-one, and we have a wrist back, head and armpit, and we take that hand that we have, the wrist that we have in our hand on the near side, and put it up on our hip. And as we start to come to the front, instead of running the head as would normally be the case, arcing around the head, instead we insert our half Nelson with the foot and proceed into a figure four around the head. Once we've got him over, we raise our head up, press down with our hips, and try to flatten his shoulders to the mat. A third opportunity for figure four around the head, among the four that we've listed, would be if opponent's down prone on the mat and he grabs our wrist as a defense maneuver, perhaps late in the bout, to try to prevent us inserting a half Nelson. Since he has our wrist on the side to which we've climbed, we can't insert the half. So what we'll do is bring his hand out and up and insert our leg. And as we insert our leg, we insert it like so, as if it were a half Nelson in and of itself. And then we can proceed forward to get the figure four around the head. Now you don't have to apply a figure four at that juncture where you insert your foot as if it were a hand being applied in half Nelson style, but that is one of the things you can do. You can finish off the opponent with a figure four head scissors.
Cross coach's body.
An additional headlock type grip, which we call inverted reverse headlock, is a devastating pin grip. The essence of inverted reverse headlock grip is that it is what amounts to a reverse headlock, but opponent is in a supine pose. Instead of being kneeling, he's over on his back when you apply that exact same grip. Okay, so the essence of an inverted reverse headlock grip is that it is what amounts to a reverse headlock, but opponent is inverted. He's on his back rather than being up on his knees. The value of inverted reverse headlock grip is in the fact that it can be very devastating as a pin grip, provided you know where your head needs to be placed to stop opponent's rotation, provided you know enough to draw his head upward with your arms as you drive downward into his chest with your shoulder to prevent a bridge, and provided you stay somewhat parallel to his body axis, that is, do not come perpendicular to him. So we're going to apply the inverted reverse headlock. We've got him over on his back, and if he's rotating away from us, our head goes down to the mat. If he's rotating in toward us, we bring our head up into the far lower ribs to prevent that rotation. If opponent attempts to bridge, we pick up on his head and drive downward with our shoulder to prevent the bridge. So we try to keep him on his back the whole time. We do not want to come perpendicular, but if somehow we get there and man is rotating in toward us, we would look to apply ideal reverse cradle if it's wise. But for the inverted reverse headlock to be a pin, we normally would stay parallel to the opponent, not come perpendicular to him. Now, some of the prime times for application of inverted reverse headlock. One, via a Jap Wizard, takedown type move. If you apply a Jap Wizard, the natural follow-up upon circling toward his head is to take the inverted reverse headlock grip. The second opportunity, prime opportunity, is via what we call Naz. If opponent is on his hip and he reaches up and backward in order to fend or grab body or leg while he's lying on his far side, what you can do is take an overhook type grip, somewhat like a whizzer, bring your knee to the other side of opponent's head, and then continue on into the inverted reverse headlock grip. It can be done off Navy lift, which leads to Naz, which we'll demonstrate a little bit later. But for now, what we'll do is continue on with some of the other prime times, and the next one we'll demonstrate is via a leg half. If opponent has your wrist, late in the bout or any time in the bout, he's trying to prevent you from inserting a half Nelson by controlling your wrist. If you insert a leg half, what you can do from that is free your wrist, and instead of going to figure four head scissors as we did earlier, another alternative is to take the overhook type grip and then continue into a position where you can apply inverted reverse headlock. If he's in a sit-out position and you come perpendicular and insert loose bar and chin and bring him down toward his back, you could stay with that grip, although it's not a great pin grip, it might pin a man, or you can circle to the front toward his head and it's a natural follow-up from there to apply inverted reverse headlock grip, which is a devastating pin. You can also, off a tight bar, if you so choose, and we don't recommend it, but there are some people that choose to do it. If you have a tight bar on an opponent and elect to not pry him over from the side you're on, but step across his back and continue to circle toward the front, circle, 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 until you're in a position to apply inverted reverse headlock, you would do so. And it should be pointed out here, as it should have been pointed out earlier, that when you finish an inverted reverse headlock, one knee should be posted, the one further away from opponent, and the other leg should be sprawled. So we'll note that when we're in the position again next. And we're going to do it versus a sit-out. Again, this time we're going to have a double underhook. We're going to drive up. All right, from the double underhook against the opponent's sit-out, we're going to drive up into him. When he presses back, we release with one hand, grab chin, snap him down flat, freeze him there for a moment. When we sense that motion has been arrested, then we come over the top the arm, over top the head, in either order. Arm first, head first, doesn't really make much difference, and we get inverted reverse headlock. So it can be done via a snap back against a sit-out. It can also be done in an exotic way, or from an exotic movement, whereby opponent who is kneeling while we're riding from the side reaches back around to grab our leg, sort of like he reached back around when we were doing that Naz. But now, instead of overhooking his arm, we're going to sit on his arm and trap it. And then we're going to make a fist and do a Bauline's lift over. We're going to lift through the crotch. As he comes over, inverted reverse headlock is the natural follow-up. The point to be made here is that inverted reverse headlock, there are many opportunities for it, and it is a very devastating pin grip once you do get it on. And we'll do it one more time and point out again, as we illustrated earlier, that we want to have one knee posted and one leg sprawled. The outside knee is posted and the inside leg is stretched back in a sprawled position. That way, if we needed to rise, we're in position to rise. If we needed to block against an inside rotation, our knee is in position to do just that, as well as putting our head against the lower far ribs. All right, another headlock type grip, pin grip, or lead up to pin grip, is what we call Oki headlock, hooked leg over headlock. If you're ever in what was once termed a common stalemate position, where you're riding, you have, say, waist and arm, but the opponent somehow hooks your leg. You either allowed it, baited him into doing it, or somehow weren't alert when he did do it. You could apply what is called Oki headlock. To get it, there are two grips. There are two basic grips. One, the old-fashioned grip, is you apply a far cross face, that is a cross face from the far side. You reach under behind opponent's near arm and grab your own elbow. That's one grip that could be applied. Another grip is simply to lock your hands, getting behind the near arm, and lock your hands so you have a good tight grip on his head. You have to keep your leg entwined. He has hooked your leg. You try to maintain that hook that he has applied. And what we're going to do is a leg over, a tied leg over, high leg over type action with the tied leg. So we've got the grip, and we've got our toes entwined around his lower leg, and then we're going to do a sit-through, because it's a roll action. We sit through underneath him and lift him across our body. Maintain the head grip firmly, maintain the leg entwined firmly, and slip out from underneath him enough that you can get his shoulders down. And bring him back. Okay, if the opponent is in a position where we can lift them over our own body, that we do. If he sprawls down to his stomach, where we would not be able to lift him over, we can't go underneath, it's going to be hard to lift him up, then what we do is a high leg over action with our free leg, rather than with our tied up leg, and go to the other side of him to bring him to his back. So one more time each way. If you have your leg hooked by opponent, and you are able to get behind his near arm and secure a headlock grip, and the opponent is up enough that you feel that you could sit through and lift him across your body to put him on his back, then you might do so. On the other hand, if he sprawls down to prevent such a lift over, and his getting low would make it extremely difficult, then you have to accommodate him by taking him the opposite direction via a high leg over action with your free leg. Push off, do high leg over action, and get him over on his back. Now there are prime times for Oki headlock application. One is this common stalemate position, what was once called the stalemate position. And another one is off a shrug from standing. If you attempt to shrug from standing, but opponent covers your leg just as you're applying the shrug, what you can do is insert the Oki headlock grip, bring him down to the mat, entwine your leg, and do a lift over. Put him on his back. A third opportunity for Oki headlock, listed among our prime times, is versus limp arm counter to whizzer. If ever you have a whizzer grip on opponent, and he happens to hook your leg and would attempt a limp arm counter to that whizzer, you turn palm up and catch his arm as it's coming forward so he can't complete the limp arm action, and then get behind the near arm with your free hand so that you can withdraw your other arm and insert the Oki headlock. And then you're in position to apply the Oki headlock action that would put him on his back, either be a lift over one way or the other. So Oki headlock does have its prime times, and it can be a very potent grip applied by the right individual. In an extended sense, via front headlock, we could call silencer a headlock type grip. It's actually a tie-up of two upper arms, but the opponent's head is trapped. So in a sense, it's a headlock type grip. So we will include it on our list here today. We've got a Japanese front headlock. We sweep the arm in under his face. We release the lock of the fingers, and we grab his upper arm in one hand, our right hand in this case. And then we do a sit-through. And as we do our log roll action, we reach up with our free hand and grab his other upper arm. Midway through the log roll, we've got both arms, and now we come up to a near perpendicular position, not quite perpendicular, and get him flat on his back. Not coming quite perpendicular makes it a tighter grip on the opponent's throat area, which should all the more subdue him and cause him to want to give in. So silencer, in an extended sense, could be looked upon as being a headlock type grip. So we've listed it as such. All right, standard headlock. Number one item we tell people is don't tend to be a headlock hunter. Just take them when they come. Don't miss opponent's head. Few things look more pathetic. Setting opponent up and timing the matter right reduce the probability of a miss. Headlock can be applied from various positions. One time you might apply it is from standard tie-up, collar and tricep. You could apply a sag type headlock. It's a simple headlock. We've already got it on film. And it could be applied easily even by somebody who has not high skill. You can also apply a headlock off a pancake action. If opponent is in on a double leg drop and he's giving you some grief, what you could do is headlock pan, which in itself leads to a headlock. From standing, if you have an underhook grip, what we call a kip grip, one method of getting a headlock would be to give him some cranking action as if you're trying to rotate him toward his back. When he comes to face, if he does not immediately go into a barrel roll grip, he makes himself vulnerable to a headlock. Now you could either do it as a sag headlock or you could do it as a headlock throw. We'll do it again. The second time we'll do it as a throw. So you're cranking him with the underhook. He comes to face you, but he doesn't do barrel or fireman's. He's made himself vulnerable to a headlock grip. You lock your fingers, and you can hit him with throw action. And, of course, you can do headlock from standing, tricep and collar, shove down on his head to get him to get his head up. Once his head is up and exposed, you can do a basic headlock throw. We step in and do a ballerina's pirouette in order to get him up over your hips by getting your hips through enough that you can toss him. One more time. On this headlock, we've done it off collar and tricep. We're chugging down on the head. He brings his head up. We step across in front, get up on our toes, do a back step, and do a throw. We're going to do some liftovers now as a group. We have these liftovers, I believe, on film previous to this, but we'll put them on film again. One liftover we call parallel liftover. If opponent has leg in the air and his head is in front of your groin area, you pop it to the outside. You take a reverse headlock grip, front headlock grip. You squat, you reach down and get a good grip on his knee hock. And then as you sit, you elevate up through the groin and lift them straight over parallel and get either reverse cradle or double grate. If you have double grate, you automatically have a chin grip. One more time from a different angle. Opponent has leg in the air between his legs. His head's in front of your groin. You pop it, pull it, or push it to the outside. You get a front headlock grip with one arm. You squat and get the knee in your hand before you start to sit in the elevator. And you just sit, elevate them, and you come up into a double grape and chin. Or, if you care to, you can hold on to that leg you had on the lift over and make it into a reverse cradle. Another lift over is what we call lateral lift over, where he has that same grip. He's got leg up either between his legs or between your body and his. And what you do is you squat, you reach across underneath him and get his far knee in your hand before you start into the lift over aspect. And on the lift over, you just fold down your knee, lift at the knee, his knee, and lift with your arm, bring him across, and you'll end up in two upper arms tie up. Okay. One more time from a different angle. Lateral lift over. On lateral lift over, we're going to reach under and get his far knee in our hand with our tight overhook grip, our wizard grip, and with that hand behind the knee. As we fold to our own knee, we're going to lift him across our body, go right up under his armpit, and get two upper arms. A third lift over, if opponent has our leg up in the air and we're facing him, and we can get a little underhook and a front headlock grip. Front headlock grip. What we can do is what we call a monkey flip lift over. We sit and lift him straight up over his own head and get a cement job pin grip coming out of it. One more time. He has our leg up, but we're not out to the side. We're more in a facing position. We get a front headlock, we get a little bit of an underhook, we sit, elevate up through his crotch area, and come up to finish with cement job, lower arm and chancel. Sladle can sometimes be turned into a lift over action. If opponent has leg in the air, and it's between his legs, and his head is down enough, we put our heel behind one knee, we reach across, and sometimes for some people, though there's danger to your own arm, they'll get a switch type grip, but it does endanger your arm. You could get your elbow hyperextended. So to play it safe, what we'll do in most cases is just get a good grip on his knee hop from the rear, and then we fold to the knee, lift them perpendicular to our body axis, and in a sense, that's certainly a lift over, and we can get him on his back in the pin grip.
Go ahead.
We're going to do Navy lift series. Now, Navy lift, Navy ride actually, is also called lace ride. And what it amounts to is a wrap around the waist with one arm and a crotch grip with the other. So we won't show the manner in which you get opponent into Navy lift position. We've got the Navy lift grip. We've got a waist strap with one arm. We've got an underhook with the other at the crotch area. Now, to lift, we want to get our knees up under him, under ourselves actually, and in tight to him. And then we raise our upper body up, make a bicep, and then bring our elbow to the ceiling. And our desire is to rotate him enough toward his back. Our desire is to rotate him just sufficiently that we can snake our hand in for a reverse Nelson and pounce. We have to pounce down on him to close the opening, because if we don't, he'll slip out of that reverse Nelson. So that's A number one. We want to lift sufficiently that we can get a reverse Nelson in and pounce down and trap him on his back. If, however, he rotates in toward us and has his hand in the air as he's doing so, then we won't be able to get reverse half Nelson, but we will be able to get, and we must go after, standard half Nelson. And again, you have to pounce down on him, or he'll slip out of that half Nelson. He'll slip his hand through an opening. If he's well trained and knows enough that when you come off your back, you don't come off your back with a hand in the air, but with a hand close to your body. As he rotates inward, we'll take a false half Nelson. We'll just wrap our arm around the head as if we had a half Nelson. We'll let go of the knee that we have in our hand, drop our hand down and get the other knee, and ultimately place the opponent in an ideal RC. Ideal meaning we have the bottom leg in the reverse cradle as opposed to having the top leg. To have the bottom leg is better. If, as we go to lock our hands on that reverse cradle, he's rotated in, we've placed a false half Nelson on him, and we've dropped down from the one knee to the other, and we'd like to lock our hands and get that cradle. If the opponent reaches up on our back and presses against our rib cage or side area to prevent us from locking hands, using that little bit of push action as leverage, then what we'll do is forget trying to get the reverse cradle, and we'll take an overhook grip on his arm, somewhat like a whizzer, place our knee on the other side of his head, which traps him immediately, and apply inverted reverse headlock grip, which is as good as reverse cradle in terms of ability to pin, as a move that will pin. So one more time, the series. If ever we are able to secure a Navy ride grip, waist, crotch grip, we keep our elbow kind of close to the mat so that if opponent rotates away, we don't get our arm hyperextended. And we keep our forearm perpendicular to his body axis so that if he rotates one way or the other, he won't be able to go far. And when we're ready to lift, which should be immediately after we get him in Navy grip, as soon as we know we're balanced, we raise our upper body upward, we make a bicep with one arm, we bring our elbow to the ceiling, which kind of locks him into position where he can't rotate away now, and we try to snake our hand in for a reverse Nelson and pounce. If not there, it might be not there because he's rotated inward and has his hand in the air. If that be the case, we put a half Nelson in and pounce. If he rotates in wisely and keeps his hand tight to his body wisely, then what we'll do is put a false Nelson on and let go of the one knee, go after the other knee, try to lock our hands together and get ideal RC. If that not be possible, it's probably because the opponent has taken that hand that went inside, tight to his body, and reached up across our back and is putting pressure against our side to prevent us from locking our hands. If that be the case, we can forget RC, overhook his arm, whizzer style, bring our knee to the other side of his head, and apply inverted reverse headlock, which is as devastating as pins get.